It's day 10, and I am back from, I think, about 7 hours at the Louvre, and I had a great time. I got in had a 9 a.m. entry. It takes a little time for the lines to go through and to get through security, and then headed off to the Richelieu wing, which I knew was sort of the opposite of the Denon wing that everybody was going to. So I was able to wander through the section of French sculpture and through the Napoleon III apartments almost on my own, and just absolutely enjoyed it. And then headed upstairs through the Northern European painters and really was in a space of just letting my feet wander, letting whatever came around the next corner. They often say with the Louvre, because it's, I think, 35,000 pieces of art on display, you're not going to see them all. I think the stat is if you were to look at each one for 30 seconds for 24 hours a day, it would still take you 6 weeks to see them all. So you kind of wander and see what grabs your eye and what grabs your attention. And a little later in the day, I did have to, or chose to, go in to see the European and the Italian masters. And this is where the Louvre gets rather overwhelming if you've ever been there as a tourist in particular. Everybody's on that course to go and see the Mona Lisa. It is packed and mobbed and just an insane amount of people all trying to capture the same photos or, God forbid, a selfie in front of the Mona Lisa. And that experience really deteriorates quickly. It becomes, for me at least, becomes not a space that I can enjoy the art. It really just becomes too loud, too crowded, too many people jostling around, all trying to see 5 probably key works of art there. And I spent a little bit of time there and then quickly moved on to Antiquities of the Orient, and then had some just amazing pieces of art from ancient Babylon, nearly all to myself, and much, much better. And it does have me thinking a little bit about what is art. I've been trying to learn a little bit more art history, being here in Europe a little bit more, and just understanding, again, amongst 35,000 pieces of art, why everybody's obsessed on the 5 pieces of art. And are they good? Sure. Are they the best in the museum? I don't actually think so, not in my opinion. And I am not an art critic or art expert by any means. But I think there is a sense of perhaps ticking the boxes of doing what is expected of you. And I get it. The guidebooks and the videos and the Instagrams and the TikToks all point towards getting to see the Mona Lisa. And I also understand we have seen the Mona Lisa our entire lives. It has been in ads and in stock art, and it is widely publicized and widely used in all sorts of marketing and other mechanisms and places. And yet, how many people have a really poor Louvre experience? They have booked their time in Paris. They've allotted maybe 2 hours to go through the Louvre. Again, I spent 7 hours there, and I feel like I only barely scratched the surface. And it almost becomes performative, or, as I say, checking the boxes, task-based. Go see this, go see this, go see this, get the photo of this, this, and this so that I can post it on my social media. And I realize this is the space that I am always ranting about in any tourist place, and in Paris in particular. But I think there's just a group mentality about it that I push back against. And again, some of that is being somebody who's in his 40s, 50s, and who is in that space where I don't want to follow the herd anymore. I am super happy to really not know who half the people on the tabloid magazines are at the supermarket checkout. And so I get it, and I just think people could have such a different experience if they were really coming to the art museum to spend time really being with the art. And maybe that's not what they want. Maybe they don't actually enjoy art, but they're there because they're in Paris, and that's what you do when you come to Paris, is according to what they've read or understood or seen on different places. And I think it also asks broader questions around what is the art that's worthy of being in a museum and what is the art that is not. And I think there are probably many opinions about it. And I think for me, I'm most interested and spent probably the most time engaging with art that moved me or connected with me in some way. I once heard a famous art historian say that any good piece of art should feel like it engages you in conversation in some way, that you have some reaction to it. It could be positive, it could be negative, but you want to spend a few moments just in relationship with the painting and understanding what it's about. And I will say it's not limited to painting because I was super impressed by both the Greek statues, French sculpture, a number of the different arts that are beyond just the paintings. The decorative arts there were fantastic and phenomenal. And I think it is that ability of art to convey something universal, to convey an experience that all of us may have had. It could also be the highs, the lows, the despair, moments of love, moments of tenderness. There is undoubtedly a huge amount of religious art, and there are a fair bit of art that is related to benefactors of those who paid to have their portrait taken. And you just see different shades attached to that. Some of the other learning that I've done within art history is sort of that shift away between, the Renaissance and then probably into the Impressionists, into kind of some of the newer forms of art, and sort of indicating that the Renaissance art was fairly stoic. It was somewhat of a intellectual representation. Proportions were very controlled. Most religious pieces of art, there is some version of a triangle within it. You will always be able to sort of see where the painter's directing your eye because that was the common form. And they had, maybe, I would say for me at least, a little bit less of an emotional reaction because though they were beautiful, I absolutely love a Botticelli or something like that. I love the palette and I love the representation. And even for a few of the paintings painted in 16th, 17th century, the photorealism was incredible to a degree that it was hard to believe that it was truly painted a couple hundred years ago because it looked like a photograph. But I do find now that I am learning about art that there is a little bit of holding back in that art. There is a little bit of restraint. And as that art moves forward, we get more motion in it. We get more emotion in it. We get to see more daily life scenes. We get to see people at different angles in more natural ways in their body rather than very, very posed. And I really enjoyed that part of looking through art and understanding it and thinking about it. And does that match some of our own processes in life? Are we more restrained and more perhaps concepts of ourselves and later on start to let that go and really get to a place of just living and being and getting a bit looser and real in our art and in our lives? And I do reflect upon that and think it does perhaps represent some of our own changes that happen for us as we go. And I think art museums are just such a unique place and something that, especially in Europe, becomes such an interesting and rewarding place to spend some time. I think you really get to see how people dressed, what the architecture looked like, what people were eating, and just strong clues about their culture. And just as we today are leaving plenty of clues about our culture, I do wonder 100 years from now if people look at social media in different ways. I think we're on the cusp of artificial intelligence, and will it take over social media? Will we continue to see real people, or will we continue to see idealized AI mimics? And how important will that authenticity be? I think it's going to become more and more important in our lives as AI creates more and more idealized versions. So are we back to the Renaissance? Is this an AI Renaissance where those idealized versions and representing more intellectual constructs than true, authentic, somewhat more messy versions I'm already starting to get some of the emails from sometimes people that I know, and I can tell it's been written by AI, and something about that takes away from the genuineness of the person that is sending me that message. And we as a society will need to learn to grapple with that. We will need to decide what is important to us. And that means that you're entering your 40s and 50s at a very interesting time because, in a more global way in our lives, our 40s and 50s are about becoming more authentic, becoming more of our true selves, worrying less what people think of us, renegotiating relationships, rediscovering career, and deciding that our time is not infinite and our time actually needs to be well spent. It needs to be a life worth living. And so, what decisions are we making to better line up with that? And what happens when we do that in the backdrop of AI? Because I think at a time when we're most craving authenticity, we may see a world that becomes less and less authentic. We are seeing ads that are micro targeted at us, but also, as I say, constructed to all of our preferences and likes, to the colors that we like, to people that appeal to us, to the messages that advertisers know uniquely will hit us, that will appeal to us. And at the same time, when we're in a space of making different decisions about ourselves, I think there's an interesting contrast and tension there. And I think both can kind of coexist, but they may have some messiness as we go through that journey, perhaps different than other generations or people of a different age. Those who are younger than us may simply follow along because they are used to somewhat following what the mass media is giving to them, somewhat following what social media is giving them as clues. And so this may be our opportunity and a new reason to double down on that authenticity, to make the decisions that we know are right for us, even when all of those social media posts are trying to tell us otherwise, even when we're comparing ourselves to somebody's airbrushed and perhaps now AI enhanced photo reels and social media posts, thinking that they have this beautiful, wonderful life, and we are somehow more unhappy or not at the same level of success or don't have all the same things. And again, we're comparing our insides to somebody's outsides, as I've heard it put before. So I think this is a chance for more of that authenticity. And I hope that more and more the art of the world continues to be able to reflect that. I think there will be a premium on handmade things, on um, things that very much contain human fingerprints, so to speak, books written by humans rather than written by AI. And I may go to AI to seek information, but I will probably go to a book if I want a more emotional experience. Those lines will continue to blur in the years to come. And we as a society will need to decide how we're going to work our way through that. What is okay for us and what is not okay for us. And that becomes just part of how we continue to change and enter new phases of our lives and what we want and how we're going to vote with our dollars. And so I'm not sure all of the messages that I'm leaving today with, other than I think everybody should get a chance to spend some time with art. I think there is not an analytical piece always that needs to come with art. I think it is what you gravitate towards, whether that's color palette, whether that's light, whether that is shape and form, whether that is the emotion contained with it. Don't worry about trying to see the Mona Lisa or whatever that other piece is online or in real life or in the art gallery. Just wander around, let the art call to you. And that may sound a little hokey, but I think there's some truth to it. And I think it would align with so many other pieces that I would say let life call to you at large and find your way through that and let go of the need of art to be productive for you. I don't doubt many artists are constantly struggling with what is commercial versus what is the art they feel they need to make as part of their process. And so, equally, what decisions do you need to make as part of your process to be living a more authentic life, to live something that feels more true and meaningful to you? compared to what is commercial. And when I say what is commercial, does that mean staying in a career that you hate? Does that mean having a giant mortgage on a house that really doesn't do a lot for you, just means more cleaning? How much does it mean driving a vehicle that looks and acts as an external status symbol, even though you really could care less whether you're driving that or driving a different, perhaps, economy model? Find out what's more true for you. Find out what feels truer for you. I think it was a great day to turn off the analytical part of my mind, the logical part of my mind, the calculating or strategic part of my mind, and simply be led, to not know what was going to be around the next corner, to not have a clear plan that I would go see this and then this and this, but simply to wander the museum. And I got immense joy from just the different spaces and works that showed up. And I never would have been able to find them off of a list. Many of them I probably couldn't even name for you right now, but I really enjoyed them, even if it was just for 30 seconds or a minute. And what are the things that you can do in your life that just for 30 seconds or a minute bring you joy? So I hope there can be something artistic and authentic that comes to your life. Maybe that's my message for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to sharing day 11 with you very soon.